Welcome to another episode of the International Volleyball Academy. As we promised last time, we will continue with what we started, the health fundamentals of strength training. This time, however, we will move beyond the core of the body. We will introduce how to prepare the legs.
We will be interested in what role they play in volleyball and how to develop their strength. We will start with an apparently simple exercise, the squat. However, even the squat must be done correctly.
The movement originates from the hips. Besides them, the knees are also involved. The weight is distributed across the entire feet of both legs. We are talking about the so-called three-point foot support. The 3 points are under the heel, under the big toe, and under the little toe.
Another important rule, especially for children, is to ensure that during the squat, the spine and head remain straight. The spine should neither be overarched nor hunched. The head should neither be tilted backward nor hanging forward. This also relates to the position of the hips, which should neither be sticking out nor tucked in.
Whether it's a narrow or wider squat stance, the knees must always follow the direction of the toes. The knees must be centered to engage the correct muscles of the lower limbs and to prevent potential injuries resulting from improper squat technique. This can be seen in these two cases. The knees are either turned inward or outward in relation to the position of the feet. And why does a volleyball player need a squat? Primarily as a means of developing strength. In elite sports, the squat is often accompanied by weights and other equipment that provide resistance to the squatting athlete. This is mainly to help the player develop leg strength for spiking or blocking. However, a volleyball player doesn't just need strong legs for jumping, but also, for instance, to maintain proper body position when receiving a serve.
As we have already mentioned, the correct execution of the exercise is important, and we must pay attention to proper squat technique even in children. During the learning and mastering phase of the technique, we only use the body's own weight.
Lower limb strength is crucial for jumping, because in volleyball the rule is the higher, the better. The spikes of these athletes are made from a height of 350 to 370 centimeters. For comparison, a basketball hoop is at a height of 305 centimeters. However, jumping for a spike or a block is not the only reason to master and train the squat. A player, while receiving a serve or playing in the field, such as when digging, often finds themselves in a position very close to a squat.
And now, the approach we use when training the squat. We talk about quarter, half, and deep squats. We start with the quarter squat, where the hips are above the level of the knees.
We want the player to get into the correct position and hold it in an isometric mode. The next goal is to leave this position by returning to a standing position and then be able to correctly assume it again. This process helps to fixate the proper squat execution, while also teaching the player to take control of their body according to the setup we've already described. Only then does the familiar squat come into play. There's no point in recklessly squatting without mastering the correct technique first.
After the quarter squat comes the half squat, where the thighs are parallel to the ground, the hips are at knee level, and the emphasis on keeping the spine straight still applies. Next comes the deep squat, where the hips are below the level of the knees, and the movement in the hips and knees is at its maximum. All of this is still done while keeping the spine straight.
Not every player can perform a technically correct squat, and this can be for various reasons. Often assistance is needed. either in the form of a solid support or with the help of a teammate. In the latter case, one can observe both a correctly performed squat and potential mistakes.
When everything works as it should, we can gradually make the exercise more challenging. This can be done through single leg squats or by adding resistance, where a teammate applies pressure on the shoulders. However, this is all based on the assumption that the regular squat is performed with correct technique. Additional load is only introduced at the very end, after following the described learning process.
In addition to jumping, volleyball often involves activities where both legs do not work together, but differently. For example, the approach for a spike, which is a very important prerequisite for the jump and timing of the spike.
Besides the biomechanical development of this movement, which we covered in episodes 5 and 6, it is also necessary to strengthen the legs. For this, lunges are an excellent exercise. To understand this, it is important to note that the lower limbs work separately, with one being the stepping leg and the other the standing leg. One lower limb bears more of the body's weight than the other. It's similar to walking. One leg is stable, staying in place, and the other is mobile, moving.
When learning the correct technique, we start with a reverse lunge hold. We want to find the correct position and hold it. Afterward, we want the player to be able to leave the position and assume it again. An important rule, just like with squats, is centered lower limbs. This means that the front foot's toe should point directly forward, and the knee should follow this direction. It should not point inward or outward. Additionally, it's important to ensure the knee is positioned above the ankle. The spine should be straight, and the entire torso should lean slightly over the front lower limb.
We start with a reverse lunge, as shown in this example. The reason is that it's easier to return to the starting position. In a forward lunge, the spine may arch during the return. The starting position for a lunge is standing on both feet. Later, we teach players to lunge from standing on one leg. It's important to engage the arms as well, so the movement feels natural, just like during normal walking. The harmony of movement plays an important role in these exercises.
After the reverse lunge, the forward lunge follows. Similar to the squat, we find the optimal position and try to hold it in an isometric mode. Only later do dynamic exercises come into play. As mentioned, the lunge is similar to the spiker's approach in the game, but also to sidestepping or running during blocking.
And then there's the side lunge, in which you can see the beginning of movements that the player uses primarily when receiving serves or digging. Remember, every action during serve reception or digging is preceded by foot movement. In these actions of top players, we apply the learned side lunge.
In practice, we proceed similarly to squats or forward and backward lunges. We start with isometric holds and then move to dynamic exercises while always maintaining proper knee alignment.
I think that's enough for today. Now it's time for the traditional final recap.
We focused on the fundamental health aspects of leg strength development. We discussed the technique of a proper squat, the 3-point foot support, knee centering, spine and head position. We described the quarter, half, and deep squat. We demonstrated the reverse, forward, and side lunge. And we indicated which volleyball activities are related to squats and lunges.
And that's really all. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.